It's April 10th, 2013, and you're listening to another episode of Fights Over Bagels! It's Chicago's favorite tech morning show. With me, as always, is one Miss Heather Brown.
Good morning.
One Mr. Brett Mackey.
Bubbles.
And everyone's favorite nemesis, one Mr. Dave Seidler.
Yes, indeed.
I'm your host, John Osler. We have another great show for you guys this morning. In the studio with us is Matt Moog.
Matt is CEO and founder of Viewpoints, founder and chairman of Built In, among many other things. Firestarter Fund founder. The list goes on.
Yeah. So, in a great interview, he's really contributing a lot to some of the bigger and more well-known startups in Chicago. So we've got a lot of interview to get to.
So
Let's get on with it.
The title of today's episode is
skibbity doo ba 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 bo. Today's coffee is brought to you by Chicago's very own Bow Trust Coffee. Check them out at bowtrust.com. They also have 2 locations in Chicago.
It's now that time of the show we call the Bagel Bite.
Kickstarter Mania has finally come to the city of Chicago.
Ooh.
Do you guys know about this?
No, tell us more.
So-
we want the deets.
Seed Chicago, which is a organization run by Ram to support small businesses and community development projects, has 11 projects, I think, posted on Kickstarter to help raise money for these businesses and increase jobs and just help Chicago in general.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Cool.
So it's a little subset. I think that Kickstarter always had a Chicago filter. You could see Chicago projects, but now this is even, it's a more called out like special feature.
Yeah. I think Seed Chicago is creating a section of Kickstarter to itself in Chicago.
It's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Way to go, Rom.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, Brett, what you got over there?
Oh, there's a reason we don't see a lot of women at the Chicago tech events.
Uh-oh. Sausage fest.
Yeah, they're always sausage fest. It's because women have other choices in the careers they can choose. Apparently, we don't.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Pitt and
Yo, where did you
Michigan
get
State.
this
Yeah.
bite? You got this off of the Jewel Osco, line 8.
Penny Saver? Yeah.
Boy.
Penny Saver. Well, the University of Michigan and Pitt said that men just test higher in math, and women test higher in math, verbal, reading,
Well-rounded,
comprehension.
well-rounded
More
ladies.
well-rounded, right.
So they got more skills, so they
They
don't.
got more skills, yeah. So,
Feel
yeah.
good.
So I don't know what that means for all of us, except we're just kind of,
So let's keep going to these shows
Justin.
and these events and hanging out with each other.
yeah, it's just going to be bro nation, I guess, here. And,
Feeling good.
Great.
but on the other hand, great odds for any ladies who are,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. If you
You know?
want a nerd.
If you want a big pool of men to swim around with, come
We're getting back
be
to
an
the pool.
engineer. Be an engineer.
All right, Heather, please take this over.
We'll move over. Apple and Samsung. That's the big headline. A sweet bracelet came out by Link Me. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
Link Me. So not only am I going to have a sweet ass ring that stores my passwords.
Yeah, let's forget about that.
Oh yeah. I'm also going to have a sweet bracelet now that gives
Slap
me,
bracelet?
No. It's like a sweet bracelet that goes on your hand. It's got like, sends you your text messages, your
Really?
social media. Yeah.
Oh, great.
So, if you guys text me and you're like, what's going on? It'll just say, what's going on? I know, pretty
Thank
legit.
God. You could also have people, text you obscene things and then just hold it up to other people and be like, oh,
Be like,
what's that?
F you.
Yeah, it's just
I
another
don't
way.
know.
It's a more sophisticated way to flick people off, I feel like. That could be nice.
So
True. But there's also a Kickstarter. This is a legit project. There's also a Kickstarter out there for this bracelet, I guess you call it. It's a $100,000 goal, and they've already raised $23,000. So it's pretty
Wow.
legit.
it looks
supposed to
like
be, like,
it looks like
taking
another
over.
Nike Fuel Band, type of situation, and
Yeah.
I don't know why people just don't combine all of these into one awesome product.
Well, what I love now is that everyone is reacting to rumors about what Apple may or may not make. So they're like, I think Apple's doing a watch, and Samsung's like, we're definitely doing a watch. along with everyone else. I find that kind of silly and awesome. So
I don't know. Would you guys want to watch? Do you guys want to Apple Watch?
Obviously. I just want to be blinged out. I got a ring.
I will say this.
I got
I don't
it.
know how my parents get into these episodes every time. When my dad speaks of the future, he always references Dick Tracy and being able to call people on his wrist still. And I still find that extremely legit every time. I'm like, yeah, you're on my wrist hanging out. I'm like, what's up? He's like, what are you doing?
Sending
It is
your
real
dad a
handy,
bracelet.
you know?
But that camera angle, I mean, you're looking right up someone's nose right there. You got to bring it up. And then it looks like you're shielding yourself from...
Yeah.
So we got to get your dad a bracelet then?
Definitely.
That he can make
You gotta
phone calls on.
link me.
His birthday's next Wednesday. Get
All
ready,
right,
everybody.
Mr. Ostler,
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna be
I'm gonna put an
sending you,
address at the end of the
link me
show. Everyone
thing.
send him something nice.
He
Cards, gotta
loves
give him cards.
gadgets. He loves accessories and gadgets, just like my dad. They love gadgets.
We got to get our dads together.
Yeah. They can just walk around the city looking at how many steps they've taken on their Fitbit.
That's true, actually.
Wow.
That's true. Oh, man. And that concludes today's Bagel Bite.
Today's Bagel Bite is brought to you by New York City Bagel Deli and Catering. Get some kettle baked goodness today.
Yeah, it's good.
Today's feature interview is with Matt Moog. He's the founder and chairman of Built-In. And on top of that, a founder and CEO of Viewpoints. Involved in some other things we're going to talk about today. I'm just going to lead in with a couple. Why not? To get saucy. So March was a really good month for the Moog legacy. So not a lot of people know this. Your father was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Oh my gosh. Very nice. Very nice. So, clearly that apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. And then because you were honored as Red Moon Theater's inaugural community galvanizer for your work through 1871 Built-In and the Firestarter Fund while holding it down at CEO of Viewpoints. So you and your dad are taking over the world. So I guess with that setup, where does your drive come from? Is it from your father, or are you setting a new sail on the Chicago Sea?
Well, first I would say my father was first and foremost an inventor, an engineer, a musician. Last on his list was an entrepreneur or a capitalist, I would say. So I'm first, I would say, an entrepreneur, but with a deep interest in digital technology and what it can do to help people and change the world, etc.
Are you up at like 4 in the morning, or are you like,
What is your average bedtime is what we really want to know.
Well, I'm a little different where I go to bed at 10:30, but I'm typically up at 4:30 or 5.
So how do you do everything well? How do you do everything so, you're not spread so thin?
I don't think I do.
Oh, okay.
This guy.
You heard it here first.
This guy.
No,
makes me feel better.
honestly, it's a real point of frustration for me that I find so many things interesting and worthy of time and attention, and I can't possibly do all of them well, but I don't also like just ignoring them or not helping. Mm-hmm. So it's been a real struggle of mine where I've had to step off of some boards and not pursue other things. And I mean, the project to launch 1871, I chaired that, and that took a huge amount of time. And I'm really glad that I spent that amount of time and worked with Steve Collins and Kevin and other people involved in it. But it was 15 hours a week for 6 months straight.
Well, can you tell us about Viewpoints? I mean, that's your main thing right now, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Viewpoints is it's a little over 6 years old as a company, and the original premise behind it was there's a lot of just incredible insight hidden in people's minds and set of experiences about products and services they've used that none of us traditionally get to benefit from. You walk into a store, you look at a product, you ask a salesperson, and meanwhile there's thousands of people who have used that same product and could give you a lot of good advice on what it's good for, how long it'll last, et cetera. So the premise behind Viewpoints was let's build a platform that's really social, where you get to know more about the people who wrote the reviews, you can interact with them, et cetera. And with that basic idea, we launched the business back in 2007. We've had over 120 million people use it since we launched it. We've built private label versions of it for some major retailers. And we've spun out this more recent product that's more focused on rating small businesses in their individual locations. And we're in the midst of a really interesting transformation to create an ecosystem for the platform where manufacturers can sort of claim their products and participate in the conversation along with the retailers and the consumers.
So tell us about the Firestarter Fund and what it's like to be a part of a collective like that.
Sure. So let me think back here. About 2.5 years ago, I was meeting with a group of other entrepreneurs just very casually over pizza and beer in different people's offices at random times whenever anybody remembered to send out the email. And we decided, we just all talked about what do we need to succeed and for the community to grow. And a lot of it, frankly, surrounded talent, but just also PR and awareness and education, et cetera. So that's what I left that one night, and literally at the same time I had been trying to get smart about social platforms and how we could use them in our own business, and launched Built-In on Ning, which is a very inexpensive, somewhat inflexible, but flexible enough for our needs, and we launched it that way. That led to a whole series of unintended consequences. One of them was J.B. Pritzker asking me to chair the project to launch 1871 after doing Built-In. And then in the midst of being out in the community and meeting with all of these great entrepreneurs and hearing what they were up to and having many of them talk about wanting to invest but not knowing where to start, I literally, and this is not even a made-up story, I got out of the shower one morning and I said, I think we should start a fund where all the CEOs get together and put their money together and back new entrepreneurs. And I took out my laptop and I sent an email and just started typing names of people that I thought would be interested. Closed my laptop, went downstairs, got breakfast, and went to work. By the time I got to work, all 25 had said, I'm in.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And then as we were trying to close it, we had another 20 come in. And eventually we had to stop. We said, we can't, and then of course people,
too much money.
People,
It's like the Justice League. Are you like called out? You're like Eagle Call? I don't know.
That's a fun morning.
But I have to say, it's actually worked very well, right? So there is no full-time person running the fund. I oversee it along with Troy and Sam Yegan and Brian Hand. But again, I went back to Ning for this time, and we set up a private Ning for the 45 of us. And every time there's a deal that someone has vetted and is endorsing, we created it so they can put the deal up with all the documents and the descriptions, and essentially in sort of a blog post type format. And then everybody else weighs in with questions, and they just appear as comments. And then after 2 weeks of doing that and a conference call and whatnot, there's then a vote. And you have to vote in the comments, so your votes are public, and everyone gets to see sort of all the back and forth. And there's a history of it all and everything. Wow. And we've, without any staff or anything, we've put over $1 million to work. I think we're up at our 7th investment. In fact, a new one came in today. One of our members, who's the former CEO of a very prominent Chicago tech company, sponsored this little tiny startup, and with a very strong endorsement that he had met with them already, et cetera. So I think we have even more to go to do there. Everyone is so busy in their day job that it's hard to be as proactive as we'd like to be and run it like a real fund. But I think it's done some real good, and I think we've made some good investments.
So what advice do you have for people trying to pitch Firestarter or getting in front of you guys?
Well, the one thing is pretty much a requirement is if you're going to pitch us, you need to have a product developed, and it needs to be in the market with some kind of basic traction. Essentially, you need to show us that you can get somebody to pay you for what you've created. I think some people have gotten a little upset with us because they saw seed money as, I have an idea on a piece of paper and I want you to give me money to go fund it, which is not a bad thing, and there needs to be people like that. It's just we don't have the time to do that kind of due diligence. So we haven't funded those kind of greenfield situations. But if you stay within e-commerce, software as a service, and digital media, and you have an operating business with customers and some traction, my one piece of advice, which I've been focused on, is I don't think entrepreneurs take the sort of numbers and financial side of the business very seriously. So every single time I see financials that are really poor, like beyond poor, I have a little talk with the entrepreneur about, it's not just us, it's you. You can't run your business if you don't have certain visibility into where you're spending your money and where it's coming from.
So what's different about the Chicago tech scene today than, say, 5 or 10 years ago?
I think that people use the word tech very loosely, and
Yep.
there's biotech, there's clean tech, there's life sciences, there's chip technology, there's all kinds of tech. And
Sure.
When you have companies like Motorola and Baxter and Abbott and Argonne Labs, I mean, Chicago has had tech. What we don't have is in the same density as maybe Silicon Valley or somewhere else. And Silicon Valley is sort of it's an unusual outlier in the scheme of things. What we do have, though, to me, is there's enough of a critical mass. There's enough people here, and there's enough good universities and enough capital that anyone who's got a good idea can start a business and grow it here successfully. I think what is different today than maybe was 5 years or 10 years ago is that the web and mobile has become so much bigger as a part of our everyday lives and so much more important, and the business models around it are so well established that it's just becoming a bigger industry, period, everywhere. And when you look at, like we had, one of the first things we did for Built in Chicago is we had the people who run digital for United, Hyatt, Discover, Walgreens, and Crate and Barrel. They came down to a lunch meeting, and each one of them stood up and talked about some of the metrics of how much of their business now goes through mobile or their website. In many of those cases, it was like United basically said 99% of our business is done through our website. If our website goes down, our whole business stops. You've got Hyatt, who said 40% of all their bookings is being done over their website. You had Crate and Barrel, who said, they've got God knows how many stores around the country. 40% of all of their business is on the web, right? So, and Walgreens has a huge initiative to prescriptions and all kinds of stuff. So I think what other Chicago businesses are starting to realize is that they are multi-billion-dollar companies that have been around for 100 years. If they don't adapt as well to this new environment, then they're not going to survive. So for Chicago, it's sort of a double whammy. Like we have to have a vibrant startup community in order to get new businesses like Groupon and Grubhub and all sorts of others. 8-Bit, right?
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
But in order for us just to be a competitive global city, the big major companies have to be there as well. And the good news is, I mean, if you lined up just digital employers within the city, that some of these have 500 to 1,000 people just working in digital within their larger companies.
So now for the most important question of the interview. Everyone in Chicago wants to know, what is your favorite bagel and how do you like it prepared?
I would go to New York Bagel. I'd get the everything bagel with chives and cream cheese.
Nice. You know who else likes the everything bagel?
Toasted.
Toasted, nice.
Seth Kravitz also likes the toasted everything bagel from New York City Bagel Deli.
But without the rye seeds. This is his diva moment. He was like, I don't like them to have rye seeds.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
man.
like I want M&Ms and take out all the green ones.
Yeah, that's exactly. Of course, we have to take Seth down.
So can you tell us how our listeners can find out more about Viewpoints, the Firestarter Fund, Built In, anything else you want us to know about?
Yeah, so well, just go viewpoints.com, and or you can go to about.viewpoints.com if you want to learn about the company. The firestarterfund.com is the site we have set up for that, and they can learn more there, and they can email their proposals in if they're interested. And if they want to check out local viewpoints, they can go to specifically local.viewpoints.com. If they want to, hopefully they know about builtinchicago.org. If they want to learn more about the expansion to other cities, they can go to builtin.com.
Cool. Well, Matt, thanks again for your time, and best of luck to all your ventures and those to come. We appreciate it.
Filling in the gaps today is Greg Spiro. Check him out at gregspiro.com or at bitesoverbagels.com.
And that concludes episode 8 of Bites Over Bagels! Join us in the studio next week where we'll have
Anthony Broad Crawford. There's a dash in there somewhere. Chief Product Officer at Give Forward.
Once again, check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters. You can also subscribe on iTunes. Anyone else hear that thunder in the background? Subscribe on iTunes. And as always, you can go to bitesoverbagels.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.